And as promised, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take you across to that interview I recorded with Adar Poonawalla. Listen to him, because what he says is the ray of hope that we were looking for. Will it come true? We're all playing.
You were watching the News Hour at 9, direct.
And joining me tonight on the News Hour is none other than Adar Poonawalla, the man behind the Serum Institute of India. And good evening, Mr. Adar Poonawalla. There is such a buzz about a vaccine that is going to come into the market by October. The Oxford researchers are working on it, and you've tied up with the Oxford researchers. People in India are waiting with bated breath on whether this will be a reality by October.
Well, that's what we're also wondering, and we have very high hopes, because you've got some of the world's best scientists in Oxford, Dr. Hill and Dr. Sarah Gilbert, who are developing this vaccine. They've also developed the Ebola vaccine in the past and have this technology platform, which is a proven safe vaccine that now, as you know, has already entered into human trials. So we're hoping that, to get a jump start on the manufacturing, and that's why I made a statement that at personal risk and cost, we will make the vaccine, start producing it at the end of May, so that by September or October, if the trials come out to be positive and safe, then we'll have at least millions of doses to give our nation and our country and some other countries. And we don't have to then wait another 6 months after that, because, the vaccine production takes a few months. So that's why we've started this.
Mr. Poonawalla, normally epidemiologists say that trials of vaccines take a long time, and some even put it down to about 15 years before a vaccine can be made for a virus which is as new as the coronavirus. In fact, many have come out and stated the fact that during a pandemic, there has never been an occasion that a vaccine has been developed while the pandemic is on. Do you think we're going to change that history with this particular vaccine that is being developed at Oxford? And what is your euphoria on this based on?
So I'll answer this in two parts. Traditionally it does take years. Even our vaccines have taken years for pneumonia, rotavirus and other things. But that's also been because of the regulatory hurdles. Now, what Modi ji has done since the time he became Prime Minister is he's been fast-tracking all the permissions and rules that we've been also talking about as an industry to improve upon. And, for the COVID crisis, at least we've come to a single window kind of clearance where we've got ICMR, Health Ministry, the Drug Controller's Office, the DBT, all working together and responding so well. And I think that's one of the major factors why everyone is surprised that we'll be able to come upon with a vaccine so quickly. That's number one. Number two, you rightly highlighted that can we have and rely upon a safe and efficacious vaccine being developed technically in such a short period? Answer to that is we have to be very careful. It does take time. And before we give it to any Indian, we will make sure that it is very safe and efficacious. So we're going through that. And look, in the past, this may not have happened because the technologies were different. Things were different. Today, with the technology of our time, we're able to do things that we couldn't do 10, 15 years ago. So that has changed a lot.
Mr. Poonawalla, how much of an investment are you going to put purely for this vaccine? And you're saying that you're going to put in this money even before it is actually okayed in terms of the trial in the UK. So are you ready for a dead stock, God forbid, if things don't go right with the trials in the United Kingdom?
No, very well put. I think, that's an internal decision. Being a private limited company, we were able to make that decision and take this risk, because we're putting up a 500 to 600 crore manufacturing plant. As we speak, I've already commissioned the design, which will take 2.5 years to build, where we can make 500 million doses one day. And that's what the world will require, much more than that even. But right now, we are sacrificing existing facilities to be able to produce this vaccine in the larger interest of the nation and the world. And, we're hoping, and we're going to talk to the government eventually once we have something in hand, to be able to be compensated, or even this stockpile could be shared in terms of a 50% risk with the government. And look, that's happened in the past many times, even with the US. BARDA has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on various things, stockpiling even hydrochloroquine and other things which were very far away from being proven. But, that's the action under national security a government needs to take. And this is not going to cost that much, because we've always made all vaccines at a very affordable cost. So we're going to share that risk with the government, hopefully. If not, at the moment, we're standing alone and doing it ourselves.
So, Mr. Poonawalla, are you a votary of lifting of the lockdown? Because right now we are balancing between the health concerns in the country versus the economic activity and the cost as a country we are paying for this lockdown. Do you think in March this was a good idea, but now approaching the month of May, are we ready to take the risk of at least in a graded manner, opening up the economy from the lockdown that we've been subjected to over the last 45 to 50 days?
I'm so happy you asked that question, because what Modi ji did was a very timely and decisive move for the lockdown when it happened. Other countries missed the mark. But having said that, now, after more than 40 days or whatever, going forward, I have advised and also put this view across as not only my personal view, but what even epidemiologists have said, that the cost of continuing a lockdown or having multiple lockdowns beyond a point is going to cost more to the economy in terms of livelihoods and other things. We're going to die of starvation, bankruptcy, neglect of other diseases. See, don't forget, today you're hearing all these stories about hospitals turning away patients for diabetes or cancer treatment and other things, because unless you've got a COVID symptom or something related to that, they don't want to look after you. So you've got that. You've got the other issues which people are not talking about, or maybe they have, that, child abuse, spousal abuse, alcoholism, all this mental madness that's going to happen if you continue to be caged up at home and you realize that you're not earning your wage or your livelihood's getting damaged. Those long-term effects are far worse than the amount of debts that COVID is going to give you. I'll just put another statistic so you have it in perspective. The United States every year has 40 to 50,000 deaths due to influenza and flu. Today, you will admit that we will all agree that the US has not had a full-fledged lockdown, right? Despite that, there have been 25 to 30,000 deaths. Now, even if that figure were to double, statistically speaking, and I hate to say this because, you can't put a price on lives, but statistically speaking, it is still a very small number to the population as a whole. If you take the population of the US, then you look at the deaths, same way in India. Even when we lift the lockdown, look, we're going to have a lot of infection, we're going to have a lot of cases, but the deaths will be small and they'll be low in relation and proportion to the overall population of the country. And we have to unleash our healthy workforce. We cannot quarantine the healthy, we have to quarantine the unhealthy. We have to quarantine the people who show symptoms. We cannot have draconian rules onto companies to shut down their companies if they find one case or two cases. You quarantine those people and let the rest of them work. This is the solution. This is the way we move forward after the very timely and well-planned lockdown that Modi ji did. And of course, there are some lessons we could have learned from the migrant crisis and other things, but we are all doing what we can and we're learning from that. But having said that, we mustn't continue the lockdown beyond a point and have multiple lockdowns coming in the future when we again see cases come. That's my view.
Well, as you said, the ray of hope comes with the news of the vaccine, and of course the fact that you're going to put in money to already start production so that you don't have to wait for the green signal only after the trials end. But at the same time, yes, it's important in a graded manner to lift the lockdown, because that is going to be India's revival mission. Thank you very much, Mr. Adar Poonawalla, for joining me on the News Hour tonight. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the News Hour. Good night from me, Padmaja Joshi. Up next. Don't